Hi, you guys. Good morning. I hope you're all doing wonderful. Can you hear me okay? Okay, let me see. I'm going to start my video. Full disclosure, I'm sitting on the floor of my daughter's nursery because she's hanging out with me for a minute here. So you'll have to forgive that. But it's so good to see all of you virtually, right? Um, I'm with Mountain America, and Mountain America Credit Union is a proud partner of the PTA. We really love the amazing work that you guys do. And this is my favorite time of year because it's convention time. So I get to attend a lot of conventions, and it's amazing because I'm just continually so impressed by the PTA and by the work that you all do and the difference that you make for our schools and for our kids. And so thank you for what you do. And thank you for your time this morning. I'm really excited to be here today. We have a great presentation put together about financial teaching moments for kids. And I think it's really relevant because something that most people maybe realize but don't think about is that kids develop their financial habits really young. They'll learn skills and habits that they carry with them through adulthood that they learned when they were like 10 years old, right? And so the opportunity to figure out when you can start introducing financial topics to your kids is a really prime opportunity. So I'm really excited to be presenting with you. So I do have a pre-recorded session that I'm gonna go ahead and pull up. I love this. Christina just messaged that everyone should share where they're from. I would love to hear where everyone's from. I'm from Salt Lake City. So I'm based out of Utah, and it's freezing here. So not sure how it is for you guys, but it's so cold. So I'd love to hear where all of you guys are from. Feel free to pull out the chat there. And then I am going to get this ready over here. So give me just 1 second while you guys respond there. Yeah, so it looks like we're from all over Colorado. I love it. Colorado is so gorgeous. Like part of me, I wish I lived there. It's so beautiful. So we got lots of people from all over the place. Awesome. Very nice. Well, thank
Yes,
you for being
yay,
here.
we have a good turnout, and I'm so excited for you to be here. And it's freezing cold here too, so we're cold
Oh, good.
also.
Your solidarity. I love it. Perfect. All right. Okay, so for our presentation, a couple other little housekeeping things first. If you guys are interested, oh, you want to talk too? Come here. If you guys are interested and are looking for new accounts, we do have nonprofit accounts that are completely free of charge, which is really amazing. So if your PTA is needing a new banking account, let me know because we have some great promotions that could help you guys out. And I personally, I mean, I know I'm biased, but I'm a big fan of our accounts. And so if you need help with that, let me know. And then we also do have a lot of grants that actually are opening for applications in August. So I know it's April right now. You're not thinking about that. You're getting ready for summer, but I will send that out to your leadership and they will distribute that. But we do provide grants to the PTA that you can apply for. So I'll have those get sent out when the time comes at the end of the summer, which is really exciting. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to share my screen. I have a pre-recorded video, so we're going to see how this goes because technology is always our friend, right? And we're going to see how this goes. So give me just, let's click on share screen. I'm going to pull this up. All right, can you see my screen? Are we good so far? Okay, this is good. This is good. I'm gonna go full screen here. Okay, let's see how we do.
Hey everyone, I'm Cassandra Fuentes with Mountain America Credit Union's financial education team. First off, I want to thank you for allowing me to participate in your conference. Today, I'm here to talk to you about financial teaching moments for kids. Money can feel like a tough topic to discuss with our kids for many reasons. Sometimes we perceive ourselves to be unprepared or unfit to talk to our kids about money. We might also feel like talking about money may be burdensome for our kids, or we may not even consider talking to our kids about money because we think that they're too young and they won't remember when it's time for them to manage their own money. We do know that children begin to develop attitudes towards money and learn financial behaviors from an early age. And taking opportunities to teach your children about money can help set them up for success. Now, before we break into the topics I planned for today, I want to show you a video. In this video, you'll see how one family took a difficult situation and used it as an opportunity to teach their children about money. Meet the King family.
This is our home, and no one can take this from us.
You know, our crappy carpet that we haven't changed in 12 years that the kids have just totally made gross. We own it.
This was hard. We had $20,000 of credit card debt.
Swipe, swipe, swipe.
And it was going higher and higher because we didn't manage our money. I didn't know the answer. I definitely didn't know the answer.
Feeling sick to our stomachs and feeling a big weight on our shoulders, and we were back and forth talking about things, and he had just gotten a second job.
We tried to out earn our stupidity, essentially, and that wasn't happening.
When he came in, he didn't know what to do. He was looking for guidance. He was looking for ways that we can help him out.
When I walked into Mountain America, I started talking to Elton and to Alan.
Mountain America Credit Union.
It was clear that they had tools to help me solve my problem and just get going in a better direction.
And his goal obviously was to, get out of debt. Through doing a thorough assessment, I was able to identify that the best option for him would be a short-term mortgage.
The first thing that hit me was, if we get insane, we can pay this mortgage off. How much money are we gonna move?
$12,500.
Now we can either go to Hawaii or we can put that on the mortgage. Which one? We were working together. We were attacking the mortgage, shoveling all the extra money at the mortgage. Click that button, boy. One thing that we did was we set up a My Express debit card with Mountain America. In our budgeting, we'd budget weekly and we'd move that to the My Express debit card. And that made life a lot simpler.
We had this chart we made with our kids. Our kids were very involved with this whole process. And each square on the chart is $1,000. And every time we got to the end of a row of squares, we would reward ourselves with something.
Texas Roadhouse,
Exactly.
Japanese barbecue.
A lot of times it was out to dinner because that was a treat because we never went out to dinner. They loved it.
We didn't want our kids to screw up money like we screwed it up for 10 years. So we made sure that they understood what the process was, what each X meant. We set them up on a payment system. They do a lot of work around the house.
They really know the value more of piano lessons and extracurricular activities. Isabel, our oldest daughter, she's 11. She paid for her own horse riding lessons and her iPod Touch.
$300 iPod Touch. She earned every dollar for it.
She did bake sales, she babysat, she cleaned other people's carpets. Like, they're really learning how money works.
And sometimes our kids make stupid money decisions, but we let them screw it up with $10 instead of $10,000 when they're an adult.
Can you do the last X?
The lesson he taught his children was invaluable. You can't get a better financial education lesson than at the home, and he gave his kids one they'll never forget.
You're awesome! It's really cool to see the people at Mountain America like cheering us on.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty good. I appreciate your help.
It's moments like this that truly make my job as a manager so fulfilling.
This guy worked wonders.
His life was changed by a simple question on how we could help him.
In addition to these moments, we're going to talk about how you can address your own perceptions and biases around money before talking to your children. I'll also talk about how to recognize explicit and implicit learning experiences. We'll also talk about the alignment model and how to apply that in your conversation with your children. And then I'll talk about how emotions play a role in the way that we manage our money. In this next section, we're going to talk about how to identify and overcome our own biases and perceptions. Understanding our own biases and perceptions can help us identify knowledge gaps and make it easier for us to let go of ideas that have been holding us back from reaching our full potential. When it comes to children and finances, there are a lot of common perceptions. Do you identify with any of these? If you're not already talking to your children about money, what are some other perceptions that could be keeping you from initiating the conversation? Biases are unequal assessments between two or more options. Understanding your biases around money can help you identify opportunities to learn new concepts that not only affect your financial success, but it can also impact your child's financial success. We all have biases. As you reflect on this presentation later, take a moment to list your own biases and perceptions. Don't worry about whether they're right or wrong right now. Simply recognize them. Being aware of your biases and perceptions, specifically around money, helps you recognize how they impact the choices you make each day. Once you have listed your biases and perceptions, you can research them to determine whether they are true. Some questions to ask yourself as you do this exercise are, where did these ideas originate for you? How do you feel about them? How do you know whether or not they are true? Can you prove it more often than you can disprove it? After you've researched and reflected on your biases, perhaps it's time to try something new. If trying new things is scary, imagine what it would be like to try it. What could come from it? What good things could come from it? What problems could come from it? Does the good outweigh the bad? You can use calculators, tools, or even try a game. Bonsai originally started out as a game for children aged 8 to 12, and then they developed additional games and content within their website. One of the things that I love about Bonsai is that you can learn through playing, or you can read articles, use calculators that can help you identify a budget or pay down your debt, or even determine how much you need for retirement. Additionally, they have coaches that can help you answer questions to determine exactly which route you should take. Bonsai is easy to access. You just go through the website that you see on the slide. From there, you may be asked to enter your email address just to maintain your progress if you choose to play a game or complete a coach. It's completely free for you to use, so definitely take advantage of it as a tool. In this next section, we will talk about how to recognize an implicit and explicit learning experience. Understanding how to recognize different experiences can help you identify financial teaching opportunities for your family. As we break into these opportunities, I'm going to share an experience with you that has absolutely nothing to do with money, but I do think it's an important lesson. During the pandemic, I was forced to leave my gym and start working out in my garage. Each time I would work out, I would list the movements on my wall in chalk so that I could see what I needed to do during my workout. One afternoon, my son came out and wrote on the wall. I expected it to be something silly, but he actually created his own workout. He included common movements like sit-ups and push-ups, and then created his own movements like the yipe and the steamroller. When I found this, I was impressed because he didn't ask me questions about how to set up a workout. He just wrote his workout on the wall and he did it. People have always told me that we learn from observation, but this experience truly solidified it for me. My kids are watching me and learning from me, even when I'm not teaching them. This is an example of implicit learning. Implicit learning takes place without us being aware that we are learning something. It generally happens in an informal environment, and learning is based on responses from other people and the environment that surrounds the learner. For example, a child putting hot food in their mouth learns to blow on their food before eating it by experiencing the discomfort from the food and watching their parents blow on their food before eating it. Now, imagine a time when you had a conversation that involved the phrase, "We can't afford that," and money doesn't grow on trees. Those are pretty common expressions in our culture. Maybe you've heard this from your parents, or perhaps you've even said it to your kids. This is an example of an implicit learning scenario. The child observes the adult's body language, tone of voice, and can begin to create associations with feelings of instability, frustration, or a sense of being financially stuck. In this scenario, reframing the message to something like, "We didn't budget for that," or "We value our family time together, so we choose to spend money on a family vacation instead of toys," can help the child create associations with behaviors such as prioritization and delayed gratification. And while they learn the same message, money is finite, they are more likely to develop attitudes of discipline and financial satisfaction. Explicit learning is intentional. We create a formal environment and it often requires a plan. When we think of learning, we tend to think of the school environment where we have textbooks, research, and discussion. But you can actually turn any environment into a formal learning environment. For example, your kitchen can become a formal learning environment for your child to learn about nutrition and meal preparation. In explicit learning experiences, you can actually test what has been learned by asking questions to see what the child understands, or even have them demonstrate what they just learned. Teaching your kids how to earn money can be an example of an explicit learning experience. You can create jobs around the house with an assigned dollar amount. Now, I recommend that these are in addition to their usual responsibilities around the house. For example, in my house, we each have personal chores to help keep our home comfortable. My boys are responsible for their bedroom, their shared bathroom, and schoolwork. They don't get an allowance for these activities. It's just expected of them to complete those. However, if they pick up additional activities around the house, such as helping clean up after the dogs, dusting the family room, or pulling weeds, we will pay them. How you choose to set this up in your own home is up to you. The most important message to your kids is that we all have to earn money in order for us to have it. Have you ever taken your child to the store and had them pick out a toy? This is something that I do with my kids often as they earn money or get gifts from grandparents. My kids are 6 and 8, and they're always excited to spend money. And I get excited because I get to use these moments to teach them. When we started on this adventure, I would give them a budget, for example, $15 to spend on a toy of their choice. In addition to paying for the toy, they were also responsible for covering their sales tax on their purchase. An unexpected reaction to sales tax one day led us to having a conversation about why we pay taxes and how they are used in the state. After my children picked the items that they wanted to purchase, we head to the register to check out. Initially, when we started, just for the ease of use and time, I would give them my debit card and show them how I use it during checkout. As they experienced this, I explained how the store got the money and what the PIN number was and why it needed to be kept secret to protect the account. Now, as they got older, I started having them budget their cash in jars. One jar was set up for a long-term goal. In my child's case, he wanted a $50 Lego set. And then another jar for a short-term goal. Now, when they reach their savings goal, they get to take their cash to the store now. So they pick out the item that they want and we go to the register. With my 8-year-old, it's pretty easy. I just have to oversee the transaction. He counts the money and, does all the work. My 6-year-old, he still needs a little bit of help counting money. So there's a lot of setting money down to count it out so that he can start to see how everything works. And because the cash is involved, it really begins to attach a tangible value to money. At Mountain America, you can have multiple My Express debit cards for your accounts. These accounts are really helpful because they keep the money separated from the main checking account, and it also allows people to have access to it digitally. Creating these learning situations for them helps them start to understand skills like saving money, delayed gratification, budgeting, and, from one, he's beginning to count money. Another way that you could create a learning experience is through an IOU. So an IOU is an agreement to loan your child money, and then you set up a repayment schedule to help your children learn how to borrow responsibly. In Bonsai, the program that I mentioned before, there's a junior version where children can experience this in the context of borrowing money from their mother to help pay for ingredients for their lemonade stand. One of the trickier parts from my experience of setting up an IOU is holding your child accountable for that loan. And of course, this is critical because it's part of the child's learning process. If you let it go, they may learn that it's okay not to repay that loan, which could cause major problems for them as they mature and grow into adulthood. Now, in this next section, we're going to talk about the alignment model and how to help your children apply it as they make financial decisions. Allowing our children to fail can feel really scary, but as the quote suggests, failing is critical to learning how to be successful. Now, you don't have to let your child make monumental mistakes in order for them to learn. I recently heard a story about a little girl who begged for a toy for months. Her mother repeatedly told her no, but the little girl persisted. Finally, the little girl's parents gave in and they let her buy the toy. And within hours of owning the toy, she regretted the purchase and she was trying to give it away to a friend because it wasn't as fulfilling as she thought it would be. These parents use this as a great opportunity to discuss the value of the purchase. And as she gets older, it can actually serve as a reminder to evaluate her values to get the most fulfillment from her purchases. So let's talk a little bit more about the alignment model. The alignment model is this concept that was brought forth by Doug Lennox, who's the author of Financial Intelligence. And in essence, the alignment model helps us do things on purpose and for a purpose. Before we break into one scenario, I want to kind of show you how this works. So in the first column, you have the moral compass, which is essentially who you want to be. It's based on your principles, your values, and beliefs. And then in the second column, you have goals. So what do you want to accomplish? In the third column, you have the behavior. What thoughts, emotions, and actions need to take place in order for you to accomplish this goal? So I'll show you an example of how some parents got their children involved using the alignment model. One of the parents brought up how they felt like it was important to be involved in the community and in philanthropy within their community. And so they, as a family, set a goal to donate money to a nonprofit of their choice for Christmas. And when they worked through the alignment model, the family realized that they would have to complete some behaviors in order to see this process through. So they got together, they all researched charities on their own, and then each family member created a proposal to inform their family fellow members about the charity and kind of created a sales pitch on why they should donate their Christmas money to this organization. Then, as a family, they voted on which charity they would donate their money to. And then, of course, they followed through by donating to the charity that the family voted on. So that's another way to just involve your children, even in opportunities of giving. But again, using that alignment model, going back to the whole reason why we're even doing this is because it's important to us. It's something that we value. Having that values conversation at a young age can be a good start. I would take it loosely with younger children. What do you value? And what do you do that shows that you value that? That can kind of be a tricky conversation to have with a younger child, but with an older child, you can really break into this and start to say, like, let's stop and think about what's important to you. And let's make sure that the choices that you're making in your life and with your money are reflective of those values. And you can use that alignment model for them and kind of walk them through that. So next we're going to talk about budgeting. Now, we know that children learn through observation. And when you budget and involve your children, they notice behaviors such as setting your budget, putting money aside from savings, prioritizing the needs over wants, and delayed gratification. They pick up on all of that. And involving your kids can actually help them gain an experience with budgeting. For example, if you have an entertainment budget, you can have them give input on how they want to spend that money. Remind your children that while they can give input and suggestions on how to spend the money, it's ultimately up to you because the money belongs to you. And this is a great informal learning moment to help your children understand that when they have their own money, they get to choose how to spend it. Sometimes people get a little nervous about involving their children in the budget. They worry that it could be overwhelming or that they're going to have conversations with their neighborhood friends that are going to get back to parents and things like that. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. In fact, you don't have to tell them how much you make or what the house costs. You can actually involve your children in really simple ways. So another way to do that is to take them grocery shopping with you. For example, if you have a weekly grocery budget of $150, encourage your child to help you stay on that budget. They can write prices down next to each of the items on the list that you have for grocery shopping, and then they can keep a total. And then when you're ready to check out, we encourage you to pay with cash again, so that they can get a tangible value to that concept of money. Lastly, we encourage you to comparison shop with your children. I've done this with my kids at the grocery store, and we've also done this online, when shopping for toys such as Legos. We've also done a little bit of, marketplace shopping, and we've talked a little bit about how you can save money by getting things that aren't brand new, that are gently used. And even a little bit, we've had some conversations about scams and fraud that way as well. There's a lot of opportunities for learning that can take place in these day-to-day moments. In this next section, we're going to talk about emotions and money. And before we get into that, I just want to read a quick quote to you. To invest, budget, or plan successfully over a lifetime does not require a stratospheric IQ, unusual business insights, or inside information. What's needed is a sound intellectual framework for making decisions and the ability to keep emotions from corroding that framework. So what that's saying is you don't have to be incredibly smart. You don't have to have insider information to be financially successful or wealthy. What you need is a system in place, and you need a backup to help keep your emotions from breaking that system down. Okay. So what's really important, and even some adults don't quite recognize this, but there is a very strong connection between money and emotions. And it's an important thing to teach our kids that early on. And you can actually do this rather easily. You can do this by asking questions about how they're feeling about getting money, how they feel about spending money, or even budgeting. When our children recognize the emotions that they're experiencing, it's easier to help them step back and think about what's causing those emotions. Once they understand what is driving those emotions, then they can evaluate what action they want to take next. So I'll give you an example of this. During one of our shopping trips, my older son found himself in a situation where he wanted a toy that he couldn't afford. He was really upset about it, even some tears in the store, and we had to take some time to talk about it. What I learned is that he was really looking forward to bringing home a toy that day, and he felt a lot of frustration around not being able to get the toy that he wanted. After we identified some of the emotions around his experience, we discussed some of his options. He had the choice to wait and earn more money and come back, or he could buy something that fit in his price range. I was really proud of him because he actually decided to wait. And when he left the store, he understood why he felt upset, and he had a plan to move forward, which really helped him feel like he had control over the situation. So this is just one example of how you can help your children understand and overcome their emotions, but there's actually some more into this that we can break into. So one of the best ways to overcome emotions is by applying the 4 R's. So the 4 R's are recognize, reframe, reflect, and respond. Now, starting first with recognize. In order to recognize what's going on, you have to fully access your experiences, right? And getting this information allows you then to choose your response to the event or whatever's happening around you, rather than just reacting to it. In one of our budgeting presentations, we do talk about the difference between a caveman brain and a rational brain. And really the difference is, like, the caveman brain is this just reaction to it, rather than stopping and evaluating what's happening and kind of following a system or a set of rules to make your decision. This is exactly what we're talking about, is when you can recognize what's going on around you, you have the information that you need in order to use your rational brain to make a choice on how you're going to react. The next R is reframe. So what this is about essentially is changing your perspective or pattern of thinking to experience the situation in a different way. This can help you modify your behavior, since your decisions are based on the attitudes and beliefs about the situation. The story that I told you a minute ago about my older son wanting to buy the toy that wasn't in his price range and him deciding to wait, perfect example of how to reframe the situation to bring that person back down and overcome that emotion. The third R is reflection. So taking time to reflect on your values, your goals, and behaviors allows you to change the source of stimulation from the outside in to the inside out. So again, reflecting on what is most important to me and my goals, and is this behavior going to allow me to do that? And making that choice, really sets forth a trajectory of, whether or not you'll be successful. So just taking that time to reflect on that experience can create a lot of value as you're trying to, figure out what to do with your money, and even teaching your children how to do that is very powerful. And then finally, the last R is respond. So we do recommend that you repeat the first 3 R's before you respond, just to ensure that your behavior aligns with your ideal self before you take that action. So another way to overcome emotion is to remove the emotional piece from our money. One of the best ways I have found to do this is to automate my transactions for savings and bill pay. While we recommend cash for younger children because it allows them to create this sense of tangibility with the value of money, we found that using a debit card and learning how to automate saving and spending is a really good skill for an older child to learn and practice. Earlier, we talked about the JAR methods. You can actually digitize this by creating a savings account along with a secondary savings account for each of their named savings goals. Now, we do encourage you to name those savings goals. So for a kiddo, it might be, I guess it depends on the age, but if you're talking to like a teenager, maybe they have a long-term savings goal of saving for college. Maybe they have a down payment for a car. Short-term savings goals might be something like paying for their Xbox subscription or buying a new cell phone, right? And if you go in and you create those savings goals with those secondary savings accounts and then put those names on those, your children are going to be emotionally attached to those. They're going to be less likely to spend money on something silly because they know their Xbox Live subscription is coming due and they're going to have to pay for it. That's a pretty good lesson for a young teenager to learn. So definitely take into consideration, how you can make those relevant in your family. The last thing I'll say on the secondary savings account is just as your child begins working, encourage them to have a set amount that they automatically deposit into a savings account from their paycheck. I think it's valuable to learn the lesson of these things might start small, but they build up over time. And that behavior can obviously roll down to how they save for their future, including retirement. So a couple more things on digital money management. Using apps like Mint or your financial institution's app is a really great way for older children to set budgets and then track their progress towards their goals. Like I mentioned, there are lots of different apps, and it's important to find the ones that work best for you and your family. So some of these apps allow for even more than just looking at your money and tracking your goals. Some of them allow you to send your kids allowance. It tracks spending, their progress towards savings, and even investment goals if that's something that you want to get into. On the topic of investing, I will say begin having conversations about investing early. There are lots of ways to begin, and you don't need a ton of money, despite that being a common perception. One way to begin investing is to use a Roundup app. Roundup apps are essentially connected to a checking account, and every time you make a purchase, the purchase amount will round up to the next dollar, and then the app takes the difference and puts it in a savings or investment account in yours or your child's name. For example, if you spend $35.40 at the grocery store, the Roundup app is going to take that remaining 60 cents. So it's going to say $36, and then they're going to take that 60 cents and put it into an account. This is a really clever way to save up money over time. Please be aware, though, that if your child is under 18 and they want to begin investing, they will need to do so with the help of a parent, since they would have to be over 18 to sign up. But I will say it's never too early to start to plan for major financial goals, such as buying a home or retirement. All right, so that is the end of my presentation. As we wrap up today, I just want to cover some action items with you. These are things that we encourage you to take home and try out. As you go home and reflect on this presentation, I encourage you to identify your perceptions and biases. Even if you just write them down on a piece of paper and crumple it up and throw it away, just be aware of them and know them. And then as you're starting to think about ways to teach your children about money, recall the difference between the explicit learning opportunity and the implicit learning opportunity, and think about how you can really maximize those explicit learning opportunities to help your children learn the most while they're under your wing, and they can do that in a safe place. try out using the alignment model. This is a new concept for a lot of people and it can be life-changing. Like I said, as you use the alignment model, present it to your kids, even from a decision-making standpoint. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be about money, but sometimes as you have those harder conversations and as your children get older, this can be a great way to kind of bring them back in and say, oh, you mentioned to me that this is important to you. Is it really? It's a great model, you know, whether you're using it for finances or having tough conversations with your kids. And then we encourage you to involve your children in the budgeting process. You don't have to tell them everything about it, but maybe give them a little section and say, hey, you know, we have $60 this month to spend on entertainment or clothes. How would you like to spend it? Encourage your children to practice the 4 R's, especially when it comes to emotional spending. And then lastly, check out Bonsai. Like I said, there's tons of great resources on there for children, even more resources on there for adults. Definitely take advantage of that because it's something that we offer free to the community. And we certainly want you guys to use it to get the most benefits. So that is all from me today. Again, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your conference, and I hope that this has been helpful for you. Just a side note, if you have financial questions or you want to learn more about any financial topic, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us. We do offer one-on-one financial coaching, and that is completely complimentary to you. I've included my sign-up link in the presentation as well. So definitely take advantage of that if that's something that you feel would be beneficial. Again, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. Perfect. Well, do any of you guys have any questions? I hope that you enjoyed that presentation. I think it's a really applicable one. And like Cass was saying, we have some really amazing resources that are completely free to the PTA. Because you guys are a partner of ours. So if you're interested in a one-on-one financial session, or if you are wanting to play around on Bonsai or have your kids play there, I think it's super fun, but maybe that's because I grew up with Oregon Trail. And I don't know if any of you played Oregon Trail, but Bonsai kind of reminds me a little bit of Oregon Trail. So it's super fun and I'd encourage that. But do I have any questions or thoughts before we wrap up? Got one in the chat. What is the Bonsai? Yes, perfect. Let me get Bonsai link for you here. And then it looks like, I'm trying to see who shared this. This is awesome. Dina, that's a great resource. Thank you. In the chat, Dina's shared something as well. And let me grab that Bonsai.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Oh, here we go. We got a few coming in now.
Oh,
How can we revisit the recording later? So what we are hoping to have here soon, within a week after convention, is that the same link that you came to for this from your agenda will go to the video recording. So just give us a week though, please. This is all so new to us, this virtual part, but we should have that link to that within a week.
Yes. And if you'd like, Christina, I can also share the YouTube link where that video recording was. So it won't have me talking on it, but you can watch everything you just watched there using this YouTube link here. So if you're super ambitious and want to watch it again today, there it is. Perfect. Oh, you're sweet. Oh, and I realized my video's not on. Sorry. I am back. Perfect. Okay. Well, do I have any other questions? We're wrapping up a little bit faster, so you'll have a few extra minutes before your next session. But hopefully, I really hope you learned something that you can apply with your kids, because I think that for me, I wish that my parents would have talked about finances a little more with me, more than just, we can't afford it, because it's hard when you see your parents go to work and you're like, are you sure you're making money? I'm pretty sure we can afford it, right? So to be able to have conversations about values and budgeting and things like that, I think it's a really great resource. And I hope you guys can use it with your kiddos and maybe make a difference there. Awesome.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for doing this for us. And thank you everybody again for joining the Colorado PTA's 99th convention. Yeah, this was great. And I really enjoyed it. I personally have a 5 and a 19 and 21-year-old. And after seeing this, I'm like, we have a whole new thing that we're going to start doing. So yeah, thank you so much. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And yeah, you have a little bit of time before your next workshop. And let's see, Marissa, so you have a contact for them to contact, a link in here?
I posted the link for Bonsai and for the video, but if you want to reach out to me, I am happy to answer any questions you might have, or if you need additional information, and that's my email right there. It's mbernards@macu.com. And I would love to hear from you. So if you need anything, that's where you find me.
And we're also saving the chats. So that will be part of the information given to you guys too. So yay, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you. Have a great one.